Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakchurunmilitam yena tasmai Shree Gurave Yashodaya Samakapi Devata Nasti Bhutale Ulukhale Yaya Baddho Muktido Muktimichhati Aho Vakiyam Stankalkutam Jighansayapa Yayadapyasadhvi Lebhe Gatim Dhatriuchitam Tatonyam Kam Vadayalum Sharanam Vrajema Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedanscha Prahinoti Tasmai Tagvamha Devamatma Buddhi Prakasham Mumukchurvai Sharanamaham Prapadye. Dear devotees, please join me in doing a few minutes of Nam Sankirtan. During that time, let us all remember that Radha Krishna are with us now. Of course, we're in the temple, so of course they're with us. They're always with us, right next to us. They're never far. In fact, they even reside right within us. But for this meditation, let us take Radha Krishna out and have them be in front of us, or bring them out of the shrine and have them be right in front of us. As with closed eyes, we do this meditation on the beautiful form of Radha Krishna while we do some Nam Sankirtan. Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda,
Radhe Govinda,
Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda,
Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda,
Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda,
Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda,
Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda,
Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda,
Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda,
Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda,
Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda,
Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda.
Bolo Radha Krishna Bhagavan ki. We'll need the wireless mics. Radhe Radhe everyone. We'll be having a question and answer session here today, and the first question I'm going to be answering was sent to us on our Radha Madhav Dham YouTube channel. And as we answer this question, I'm actually going to be seeing how much of it you already know. In other words, it'll be interactive. I'm going to lead you, it's a fairly in-depth topic, but many of you were attending the Gita class that we had in the last week, and much of this will be review for those who are in the Gita class. So I'm going to take your help in answering this question. The question is actually pointing out an apparent contradiction in something I said last night in the Gita class. So what is this contradiction we'll get to in a second. Let me take the first point. What point was I making in last night's Gita class? We'll review that, and then we'll see what is the apparent contradiction that the person sent us on our YouTube channel. He's wishing that we can reconcile this point. The point I was making last night is about two words, deha and dehi. Deha means body, and dehi means the one who inhabits the body. For us, that is our true self, the soul, inhabits the body, right? So if I were to ask you, who are you? You should say, I am not the deha, I am dehi. I am not the body, I am the one inhabiting the body, I am the soul. Now the point I made last night was that in the case of God, we'll speak of Shri Krishna specifically, because the next part of the question has to do with Radharani. So in the case of Shri Krishna, there is no deha dehi ka bhed. Bhed means a difference between deha and dehi. So can someone who was, maybe someone who was attending the Gita class or anyone who has listened to the lectures of Sri Kripalu Ji Maharaj, can you explain to me what it means that Krishna has no deha dehi bhed? Can you give me any idea, some hint, what topic, what does this have to do? Anyone? Oh, Raj, yes, go ahead. So, where's the wireless mic?
He is his body.
Aha, very well put. God is his body. It's different than us, right? If somebody says, I am my body, is it correct? No, I am not my body. I came into this body from my last body when I left that, and that body died, and I came into this body. Now I'm inhabiting this temporarily. I'll leave this and I'll go on to another body. How about after God realization? When I become God realized, then I get a divine body. Then do I still have deha dehi ka bhed? Is there still a difference between me and my body even after God realization? Anyone remember from last night? Who said? No. There is no difference between me and my body after God realization. What is my body made of now? Maya, right? Mayic energy, Mayic substance. And my soul is divine. So after God realization, my soul is still my soul, and then what is my body made of? Divine substance. We'll talk about exactly what in a minute. So there is still a difference between me and my body. After God realization, I'm still a soul who's living inside a body, but now I'm living inside a divine body instead of a material body. What about God? When Rajita says Krishna is his body, what does that mean? Can someone else state it in a different way? What does that mean? Krishna is his body. Yes, Rajiv Bhaiya.
So Krishna himself is Anand, and his body is also made of Anand.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. So Krishna is not Krishna, the entity of Krishna, is not living inside of something like we are living inside of something. The entity of Krishna is the body Krishna, right? And like Bhaiya just said, that is made of Anand, or we could say Sat Chit Anand. But the main thing is Anand, bliss. Whereas our body is made of Mayic substance, the 5 prime elements, called what? What's that word for the 5 prime elements you learned last night in Gita class? Panch what? Mahabhut. Good. Panch Mahabhut. Our body is made of Panch Mahabhut. Krishna's body is made of divine bliss, but the difference, again, is even deeper than that, because Krishna is not residing in his body. The body of Krishna is Krishna himself. There's no difference. In other words, he doesn't leave his body ever, because he is his body. He's not a soul residing in his body. Okay, that was the point I was making last night, that's one of the things that gives God his amazing qualities, how since he is his body, he can be omnipresent with one single body. He can have infinite forms with one single body. He can take avatar on uncountable earth planets simultaneously, and yet he has one body. He's only one. And his body has that amazing capability. He has no limitations. Now, the question that this person sent in has to do with Radha, because we say, Atma tu Radhika tasya. Krishna's Atma is Radha. Vedavyasji has said in Puran. So, and you would have heard Jagadguru Shree Kripalu Ji Maharaj also say that our Atma gives life to our body, right? Now, who is giving life to our Atma? Who or what? God, Krishna. So Krishna is the Atma of our Atma. So we call him Paramatma. Krishna is the soul of our soul. Just like our soul resides in our body and gives life to our body, Krishna resides inside our soul and gives life to our soul. Then we say, when someone wants to ask, who is Radha? I'm sitting in Shree Raseshwari Radha Rani temple. Who is Radha? She is the Atma of Krishna. Krishna is the soul of our soul, and Radha is Krishna's soul. So Radha is the soul of our soul. Then the question this person asked is, but you said Krishna has no deha dehi ka bhed, then how can he have a soul? He is his soul, or he is his body, or his body and soul are one. There's no duality. Then why are we saying Radha is the soul of Krishna? Then it seems like there's a duality. So it's a good question. It's actually because saints have to give us a certain way of looking at a situation so that we can understand something about it. If you use two different analogies to explain two different things, they don't necessarily match up. Right? You said, but you said this over here and you said this over here. Well, I was using this analogy in this context and this analogy in this context, so we're not going to mix them, right? We can't mix metaphors. It's something like this here. No, physically speaking, there's no soul-body duality for Krishna. But technically speaking, there's a very special relationship between Krishna and Radha that can be understood, or we can gain some glimpse into this special relationship using this model of, let's say, Radha is the soul of Krishna. It helps us understand. There's a deep philosophy behind this. Now, normally, the shortest answer, if somebody asks, who is Radha? What is the shortest answer? Has anybody here heard me say this before? What is the shortest answer? Good, Krishna. What is Radha? Who is Radha? She is Krishna. This is the shortest answer given in Vedas also. Ye yam Radha yascha Krishna. Whatever is Radha, the same as Krishna. So on one hand, Radha Krishna are not two entities, they're one and the same. If you could exist in two forms, but these two forms of you, one is male, one is female, but you share the same, you have the same personality, same mentality, same consciousness, same, one soul, one mind, one body, but appearing in two forms, one male, one female. Although you can't do that, but that's what Radha Krishna do. They're one single personality appearing in two forms. However, there is something special about Radha, and that's what's being indicated by this statement that Radha is the soul of Krishna. Now, to understand this, we have to get a little bit technical, and I'm going to take your help because, and you've heard all of these terms before, or at least half of you sitting here. So I'm going to take your help to dig down to the bottom of this philosophy. Why do we say Radha is the soul of Krishna? Krishna has infinite powers, but out of those, three are main. Krishner Ananta Shakti Tate Tin Pradhan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ji says. So what are those out of Krishna's infinite powers? What are the three primary powers? Anyone remember? Whoever's got the mic, you're going to have to be standing and ready to go. Anyone remember the three powers? Rajiv Bhaiya.
Jeev, Maya, and Swarup Shakti.
Okay, good. Swarup Shakti, Jeev Shakti, Maya Shakti. We reviewed this yesterday in the Gita class. So, Swarup Shakti, Jeev Shakti, Maya Shakti. Maya Shakti produces what? What does it produce? The universe. Jeev Shakti has how many members? We're all members of Jeev Shakti. How many members? Infinite. That's right. There are infinite souls in existence. And Swarup Shakti is God's personal power. Now this Swarup Shakti is where we're going to focus now, because we have to understand about God's personal power, what makes God God, basically. We'll find out from this Swarup Shakti. So Swarup Shakti has three bhav, three expressions. Anyone here recently listened to Narad Bhakti Darshan lectures of Shree Maharaj Ji? Swarup Shakti ke teen bhav. What are they? I actually said them in the beginning of today's session. Oh, yeah, say it. Sat, Chit, Anand. Good. So Swarup Shakti has three expressions. It's the best way we can translate it into English. So this power of God, we can say God's supreme power, Swarup Shakti, it expresses itself as Sat, Chit, Anand. We can also say this is the chemical formula for God. What is God made of? Made of Anand, made of bliss. And that bliss is Chit, means that bliss is alive. The bliss of this world is just our own mental experience, self-created, according to our own attachments to the things that we experience. But the bliss of the divine world is a real live entity. And Sat, always existing, permanent, a fact. So God is Sat, Chit, Anand because this Swarup Shakti, his internal power, it has these three bhav, these three expressions. Sat, Chit, Anand. Abhav ka bhav is called what? Anubhav. So Sat, Chit, Anand also has three further expressions. So the expression of the expression, the bhav of the bhav is called Anubhav. So what is the Anubhav of Sat? What is the Anubhav of Chit? What is the Anubhav of Anand? Anyone know? It's three different Shaktis, actually. Something Shakti, something Shakti, something Shakti. Yes. Ketan Bhaiya?
I'm going to try this. Is it Samvid Shakti, Sandhani Shakti, and Aladini Shakti?
Very good. Yes. So the Sadbhav ka Anubhav, the Sat gives rise to, or the essence of Sat is called Sandhini Shakti. I'll explain what this does in a minute. The essence of that Chit expression of God gives rise to the Samvit Shakti. And the essence of Anand, or it gives rise to Ahladini Shakti. Okay, so now we see from Krishna's primary power, Swarup Shakti, you have Sat, Chit, Anand, and out of that you have Sandhini Shakti, Samvit Shakti, Hladini Shakti. Before I tell you what these three powers do, let me quiz you on this. Okay, again, what are, out of Krishna's infinite powers, what are the three main? We're going right back to the beginning. No, out of his infinite powers, he has three. Yes, Kush.
Jeev Shakti, Maya Shakti, and Swarup Shakti.
Okay, good. Jeev Shakti, Maya Shakti, Swarup Shakti. Okay, and then Swarup Shakti has three what? What are those called? What's that? Yes, but so Swarup Shakti ke teen bhav. Good. And they are Sat, Chit, Anand. And then Sat ka bhav or Sad bhav ka anubhav. Sat gives rise to what? Sandhini Shakti. And Chit gives rise to Samvit Shakti, and Anand gives rise to Ladini Shakti. Good, you're following along. You're ready to study Maharaj's Narad Bhakti Darshan now, and you won't get chakkar listening to it. Maharaji, when he explained this in so much detail in one lecture, at one point he had to give people a break. He said, "आप लोग ये सोच रहे होंगे कि महाराज जी कुछ पी के आए हैं आज." And he said, "बुद्धि लगाओ, आप लोग अपने आप को बड़े बुद्धिमान समझते हैं ना, थोड़ी भी गहराई में जाता हूँ और बस चक्कर आ जाता है." So you're keeping up though, that's good. Now let us understand what is this, what are these three powers. So because of Sandhini Shakti, you know, if you take away this Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini, the effect of these, you know what you have? Nirakar Brahm. So if Sandhini Shakti, Samvit Shakti and Ahladini Shakti just turn their effect off, God is formless. No form, no discernible characteristics, no qualities, no actions, just dormant. Nirakar, Nirvishesh, Brahm. So what does Sandhini Shakti do? Due to the effect of Sandhini Shakti, God has a form. So Krishna's form is because of Sandhini Shakti. Because of Sandhini Shakti, Krishna's abode is manifested. His Golok Dham, his divine abode where he lives, that's manifested due to Sandhini Shakti. So his own form, the form of his abode, his leelas happen because of Sandhini Shakti. His names are manifested because of Sandhini Shakti. Okay, so Sandhini Shakti is very important. Now see Samvit Shakti. Because of Samvit Shakti, for one thing, God knows everything. He's all-knowing. For another, this Samvit Shakti gives God his ever-increasing beauty. So when a qualified individual, a God-realized saint, looks at Krishna, every second he's even more fascinated. You know how in this world, even if you bring the most beautiful person in the world, beauty can be fascinating in this world, right? You can look at someone, oh, they're so beautiful. You want to keep looking, but how long will you keep looking? If you seat that person in front of you and you only stare at their face, in 2 minutes you'll be bored. You'll want to look at something else. Even the most fascinating beauty of this world becomes boring very quickly. If I make you keep looking at that person, I put your head in a brace, and you have to keep looking at them for 2 hours, doesn't matter, you won't even feel the person as beautiful. So the beauty of this world becomes boring. The fascination wears off. You need a break. Then when you look again later, oh, again it's fascinating. But with Krishna, if you keep looking at him, every moment you think it's more exciting than the last moment. It's more fascinating. Oh, I want to keep looking. We also say it's ever new. His beauty is ever new. His love is ever new, ever exciting. So this is because of this Samvit Shakti. It keeps all of Krishna's qualities, just the experience of it goes on growing and growing and growing. So you can keep, and the same thing goes for everything in his divine abode. You could keep looking at the same blade of grass and never get bored, because that's also made of Satchit Anand. So this is because of Samvit Shakti. And because of Ahladini Shakti, of course, this is the power of bliss. So God is blissful, and God makes those surrendered souls blissful as well. But then the essence of Ahladini Shakti, we're going one more step further. What is the essence of Ahladini, Ketan Bhaiya? Prema Shakti, Prem. So Ahladini Shakter Paramasar Taro Premanam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ji says, the essence of Ahladini Shakti is Prem, the divine love power. So you can say that's God's superpower, nothing beyond that. But Prema Shakti also has an essence. Ketan Bhaiya, you went two steps ahead. Before that, what is so Prema Shakti has 8 levels, right? What's the top out of those 8? Mahabhav, right? So the essence of Prem is Mahabhav. And say Mahabhav Roop Radha Thakurani. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ji says the personified essence of Mahabhav is Radha. This means that Radha is the source of all of these divine powers. The source of, or the absolute personified essence of Prem is Radha. That Prema Shakti is the essence of Ahladini Shakti, which is the essence of all the other powers, the Sandhini, Samvit, Ahladini. All of that comes out of Prema Shakti. In other words, Radha she is Shakti Dhatrim. Sansha, Shailaputri, Kamala, Tam Radhikam, Shakti Dhatrim Namamah. Ved says, we pranam to Radharani, who gives life to the entire divine phenomenon. She is the origin of and the essence of all the divine powers. Lakshmi and Durga are her ansh. Sansha, Kamala, Shailaputri, they are her ansh. So Shakti Dhatrim, she is the giver of all the powers, all the Shaktis flow out of Radha. So that means, see, remember what I told you, without Sandhini Shakti, would Krishna have a form? Would he have any names? Would he have a divine abode? Would he do any leelas? No. Without Samvit Shakti, would his beauty be ever fascinating? No. Without Ahladini Shakti, would there be divine love that causes Krishna to engage with his devotee saints in such a playful way? No. So all of this is happening because of Radha. That's why we say Radha is the soul of Krishna. Although on one hand, Radha is not other than Krishna, Radha is Krishna. But we also say Radha is Shakti and Krishna is Shaktiman. So in that way, see, Shaktiman is the base in which the power resides. So in that way, it's like body and the soul. But actually you can say Radha herself is Shakti and Radha herself is Shaktiman. As Krishna, she is Shaktiman. As Radha, she is Shakti. See, in a rose flower, you have the perfume, right? You can extract that perfume. The perfume can come out of the rose. So the perfume is one thing, like Shakti, and the rose flower is Shaktiman. But Kapoor, camphor, is different, right? The fragrance itself has taken the form of that Kapoor. When the fragrance goes in the air, the Kapoor itself evaporates, disappears. So in that case, Shakti and Shaktiman are one and the same. It's like that with Radha Krishna. Radha herself is Shakti, Radha herself is Shaktiman Shri Krishna. But to understand this relationship, how because Radha is the essence and the source of all the divine powers, and because of those powers, Supreme God Shri Krishna has names, forms, abodes, leelas, all of this is due to those powers. So we say Radha is the soul of Krishna. To explain Radha's prominence, why do we give special importance to Radha? Even though she and Krishna are one and the same, we say Radha is the soul of Shri Krishna. And yet, there's no soul-body duality, right? You get it? Two different models were intersecting. So that person said, wait, you said there's no soul-body duality with Krishna, and on the other hand, you're saying Radha is the soul of Krishna. So which is it? No, it's both. Two different descriptions for two different situations. So does anybody have any questions about that? Yes, Ketan Mahia?
In terms of the levels, after Premanand and Mahabhav, for a God-realized soul, what is the level that's most possible? And I know that there's a little bit much more in depth, I'm sure.
Yeah, we can reach to Mahabhav. So that we said the essence of Prem is Mahabhav. And that Mahabhav also has its own internal levels. The topmost level, Madanakya Mahabhav, that's reserved for Radha. Even Krishna doesn't reach there. Even though Radha Krishna are one, Krishna's divine mind drowns in Radha's love before he can consciously experience that Madanakya Mahabhav level. So we also don't reach to there, but we reach within those internal levels of Mahabhav. So we can reach that level of divine bliss. That ultimate level of Radha Krishna's love is available to souls as well, the Mahabhav level of Prem, but just not up to the Madanakya Mahabhav level. Any other questions? Yes. Give her the mic.
Why is Krishna blue?
That's a good question. Now, were you here when I told what the chemical formula for God is? Can anybody remind us what is God's chemical formula? Satchit Anand. Right. So that means what is God's body made of? Is made of divine happiness. We call that divine happiness bliss. Can you go to the store here and buy a bottle of happiness? No, happiness isn't a substance that you can measure and buy here in the world. But in the divine world, happiness is an actual thing that you can see. That is Krishna. So think of it this way. If happiness had a form that you could talk to and hug, that's God. God is happiness in an actual form, bliss in an actual form. You following me so far? Are you getting that so far? What's your name? Neil, who's your sister? Tara. Okay.
Ira?
Ira. Okay, Ira, are you with me so far? So, do you understand? I'm saying Krishna is the form of happiness. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, or I'll use the word, he's the form of bliss. Now, why is he blue when our Guruji, Jagadguru Shree Kripalu Ji Maharaj, when he was asked this question, he said, actually, he's not the blue you think of. If you really had to give an answer, what is Krishna's color? He is the color of bliss. His color is Anand. But to saints, to really see Krishna's divine body, you have to have divine eyes. So saints who have divine eyes, when they try to describe what is the color of bliss, what does Krishna look like? There's no example in this world. So they try to say, oh, you know, when there is a really dark rain cloud, Krishna kind of looks like that. You know, have you ever seen a blue lotus flower? Ira, have you ever seen a blue lotus? Lotus, you know lotus flower, right? So there's such thing as a blue lotus. How soft those petals are. So saints have said Krishna kind of looks like that blue lotus. And then they also say, but he has an inner shine, so they try to compare him to a sapphire, the blue jewel, the sapphire. But then they say, none of that comes close to describing what Krishna actually looks like. Because there's no such color in this world, but the best they can say is Krishna looks blue. So what I'm trying to say is, he is blue, but a divine blue, and that's the color of divine bliss, and he never decided to become blue, he's always been blue. But not our blue, it's a divine blue. So if we really want to see what that blue is like, then we have to become God-realized. We have to pray to him, do devotion to him until we get divine eyes, and then we can see for ourselves. Any other questions? All right, good timing. We have enough time left to meditate on Krishna's blue color. Ira, do you think you can do that? If I tell you to close your eyes and try to imagine Krishna's blue color, that you're looking at his face, looking at his body, can you do that? Okay, we're all going to try right now. Let us all close our eyes and try to imagine the best we can what that bluish complexion of Krishna must look like. Even though we may feel unqualified, it's okay. Krishna accepts our effort. He says, all I can ask from you is that you try to think of me, try to remember me. Then he graces us just for our effort. So that's why we get to feel that Krishna is with us, even though our meditation may not be perfect. So let's think of Krishna's beautiful bluish complexion and Radha's golden complexion, fair complexion, in their beautiful form as we spend a few minutes chanting their divine names. But the main thing is keep trying to visualize their complexion and their form. Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda
Radhe Radhe Govind Govind Radhe.
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 Govind Radhe.
Govind Radhe.
Govind Radhe.
Govind Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Govind 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 Govind Radhe.
Govind Radhe.
Govind Radhe.
Govind Radhe.
Govind Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Govind 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 Govind Radhe.
Govind Radhe.
Govind Radhe.
Govind Radhe.
Govind Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Govind 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 Govind Radhe.
Radhe
गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे 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 गोविंद गोविंद राधे
बोलो राधा रानी की
Radhe Radhe everyone.